Hello, this video will give you an overview of how equipment may be logged and tracked either for maintenance or for its whereabouts. Now, equipment can be anything that's sent to site, such as circular saws, step ladders, fire extinguishers, battery power packs, and so on, to machinery in the workshop, and cars, vans, and forklift trucks. Basically, anything that needs to be tracked, maintained, serviced, taxed, or MOT'd. To access the equipment and maintenance schedule from any of the dashboards, go to your menu and equipment and maintenance and select either full listing or site equipment listing. If we select full listing, that shows everything on the schedule, and we can then filter it as required. We can immediately see if an item's out of service, if it's out on a site, or if it's out on a van, or if it's available. And we can filter this by listing only site equipment. We can list all items on site, list just my items, those items that have been assigned to me as the maintenance manager, list items that have got a reminder due date, or items that are got a next scheduled date. Items can be further filtered, so if you want to see if items that are out on a particular site, you can enter the contract number, and then the system will show you all the items there. Similarly, you could enter it onto a wagon or a vehicle. So if we put in the first part of a vehicle registration, we can then see what site equipment's been allocated and is out on that particular van. We can categorize things by maintenance manager. So we can say, show me only items that are for myself. We can select items that are by department or by a particular category. So we've got all these filters that we can look at items for. We can print service schedules for them. So we can say if we want to provide an inspection sheet for a particular item, we can print an inspection sheet. We can print identity barcodes for them. Or we could print a listing of the items. So from this screen, you've got full control of all the items that are on the schedule. If a particular item in more details, simply from your list, just double click on the required item, and then we'll get the full details of the item, showing the description, any serial numbers have been entered, where we purchased it from, what the purchase value was. We can see here when we've scheduled the next service or inspection date, the frequency of that, the reminder period to remind us so many days before the inspection date. We can then see subsequent services inspections that are being carried out. We can upload documents connected with the item. We can have notes and comments about it, where the item is generally kept when it's not out on site. And then we've also got an audit of where the item has been and where it is at the moment. So we can see that it was returned from site on the 4th. We noticed that it got a damaged case, and then it subsequently issued out on site on the 7th of May. We can see that it's out on site from here. We can click the full audit details, and that will give us a complete listing of the details of where it's been and who booked the item out. We can duplicate the item to a new code if we were setting up a new item. We can print an identity barcode, or we can print an inspection sheet. Once the service is being carried out, we can either click the inspection service carried out, and it will automatically enter that into here, or subsequently move the next inspection date on by the frequency period. Or if we carried out some minor works in between, we can enter some works here. So we could say minor repair to the lead, carried out by, we could say it was in-house or by an electrical company, Mileage counter is not applicable. A cost, you could put a cost if that was involved. It might have cost some 25 quid, and then just enter the above, and that will enter that into our schedule. So we can compile a complete history of all the maintenance that's being carried out on that item. And then click Save and Finished, and you'll return back to the schedule listing. So if we want to look at the details of one of our vehicles from the schedule, simply double click on the required vehicle, and we get a slightly different screen. We can now see when the next MOT date is due, when the next tax is due, the frequency of the tax, next inspection service date and frequency, and the reminder period is the same as the site equipment. But to the left here, we've got a quick way of entering when an MOT has been carried out. We can simply click the MOT was carried out on that date, and then it will move the date for the scheduled next MOT for the next year. Similarly with your vehicle tax, but it will use your frequency of the vehicle tax to work out the next date and our inspection service date. If we've got items that are carried out during periods in between any of these, we simply make the entry here. So we could say that we had a rear near side tyre replaced. And it was carried out by Bathurst again. And the mileage was pretty much the same. And the cost this time was £75 for whatever reason it went up. And then we just enter the above, and that will enter the details into that schedule. We've got same areas before. With the site equipment, we can upload documents that are associated with this. We can put comments and notes about the vehicle here, any location details, where it's kept, where it's not at the factory or not in use, etc. But we also get a listing of all the site equipment that's been booked out to that vehicle as well. So we've got a complete picture of this vehicle, what its service is, when things are due, and what's out on it at the moment. Simply then click Save to go back to your schedule dashboard. To issue items to site or to a specific van, firstly, I'll just reduce this list to show only the site equipment. Then click the Issue Items to Site or Van, and you'll be given two options to either issue them on a standard delivery note or a standard issue sheet, and we'll look at both. If we look at the standard issue sheet, we've got the option to say the employee that we're issuing it to. So we can enter their reference code in there, and then the contract or the van that they're being issued to. So we'll put a contract number in, and then the item codes that we're going to issue. So if we have a circular saw, and then site box. Now, if we try and enter an item that's already out on site, so if we put site box 003, it's telling that it's not available. So it allows us to put site box 1 in, and then issue the items to the contractor of the van. Please confirm that you wish to do that. The system will then print a docket for that, showing the items that are to be sent out to that contract. And then the listing will be updated so we can see that those items are now recorded as out on site. If we look at the other way of entering an item, if we issue the item to site or van and we do it a delivery note, the system takes us immediately to the delivery note entry. So we can either put in contract number, or we could put the van number in. So if we put Y794 SBA, it just alerts us the fact that it is going to a van rather than a contract, and we just say, yep, that's fine. and then it will automatically populate the fact that it is a Luton van, that it's site equipment for the vehicle. The delivery note is a transaction note for the issuing of that. We then just need to say what's it going on. So we say it's a van lorry, and why is it going? It's a standard delivery. We don't need the notification of all the timber on there, and then the date that it's going out. So let's say it's going out today. And then to pick the equipment, I can use select site equipment. So we go to the schedule, and then we can see what's available. So we can say, okay, we want a fire extinguisher, we want a site box, and we want a step ladder. We then click add selected items to the loading sheet. It will then add them in. I can then issue and print the note. And we then get a delivery note with the items that are to be loaded onto the van. And this can be used when returning the items as well. Now, if we come back to our schedule, you can see that those items are being booked to that specific van. Again, don't forget you can filter things as well. So if you just wanted to check everything that's gone to that van, we can just type in the first part of the registration. Then the system will reduce that list to show that item. Similarly, if we list all items and then we look at that vehicle in detail, we can then see there the items that have been booked to it. So we've got the two ways of booking items out, with issuing either via a delivery note or a standard sheet. Now, if you click one of these by mistake, simply just click cancel and you go back to the listing. If we hit the delivery note, we just say cancel and verify that you want to go back to that. Turning items back from site or from a van is very straightforward. Click items returned from site or van and then enter the item code. Now, we can either use the codes from the sheets that the items originally sent out on, and we can scan these codes, or we can physically type them in. So if we type in step 03 and B01 and SB02, and we can also enter items from multiple contracts or vans. We don't have to separate them, we just need to say that they've come back. So if we add some more in, and then just click items returned, confirm that they are returned. It will return back to the schedule, and we'll now see that they're available to go back out to another van or contract. When issuing items to site or a van or returning them, you don't have to go through the schedule dashboard. You can go straight from your menu, equipment and maintenance, and say issue items to site or van. You'll then get the option, say, do you want to do a delivery note or a standard issue? And then that as the previous videos. Similarly, if I want to return an item, I can simply go to equipment and maintenance, return items, site or van, and enter the numbers. So you don't have to go through the equipment maintenance listing to get to those areas there. Adding a new item to the schedule is very straightforward. Just go to add new item, enter the reference code that you want it to be known by through the company. So we'll give that a unique code. Have to enter a unique code, it will double check if it already exists. So then we can enter the product number and description. Now, if we enter a product number, it will try and link it to the library. And if it can't, you can just carry on and enter in your own description. But if an item does exist in the library, it will save you having to type in all the details. So if we search for a scanner, we can see that we've got the two scanners here. So if we select the 16 key scanner, tells me that it doesn't have a last purchase price, so it's going to use the estimating cost. So it doesn't know where we last bought it from or the date, so it populates the last cost. Now, if I was to use one that we had purchased from and select the item, it will populate the where we bought it from, when we bought it, and the price. Just going to change that back to a 16 key. So we get the alert, but we'll say, okay, well, we didn't buy it, we'll buy it 894. So loads the image in from the material library. Again, that could be changed if you wanted to upload your own image from there. We can then enter the serial number of the actual scanner or the item, license number, weight capacity, whichever is applicable. We need to say what department it belongs to, so we can say it belongs to the workshop, and then the category. So I categorize that as scanners. We can then give it an equipment and maintenance manager. By default, it will be yourself as you're logged onto the system. But if someone else is looking after that kind of items, you can select them from the list. We can then put notes and comments. So we can say that this is for stock control. And location details, to say it's situated in the stores. Just to demonstrate the next inspection service dates, if I type in today's date and say that we want to check this every 6 months and we want reminding a fortnight before that it needs doing, the system's got the next inspection service date here. Once that occurs, I can click inspection service carried out. The system will make an entry to say that we've done that, and it will then also move the next inspection date on by the 6 months. We've got an area where we can upload documents, such things like as instruction documents or anything. Simply click upload, select the relevant documents, and that will then be in there to be viewed or downloaded. Then just click finish save. And now you'll see that that item is added into our schedule and can be used and tracked. If you have items that are very similar, it's very easy to make a copy of them. Double click on the required item and then simply say duplicate to new code. It then gives it a dupe reference, so we just need to move that onto a new unique code, change the serial code if applicable, change any details where we purchased it from or date, and then the timesheet scanning will leave that the same, but this one might be that it's situated in the machine shop, so we just change that to machine shop. We can leave all the other details as before, so that it's the department for workshop, it's the category of scanners. Click saved, and you'll now see that that's entered into our schedule. To take an item out of service, possibly because you're waiting for maintenance on it or it needs checking, very simple to do. Simply double click on the item in question and then go to the bottom and say set out of service. It will say that it's out of service. It will record the fact that it's been taken out of service on that time. Click finished, and now you'll see that it's classed as out of service. So if we try and enter that to an issue sheet, it won't allow it. So if we just go to a standard delivery sheet, it tells us that the CO2 value extinguisher is not available. So it won't let us issue anything that is out of service. To put it back into service, very simple. Double click on it and just say now back in service. It records the fact that you put it back in service on today's date, and then it's now available to go on to out of site. So thank you for taking the time to look at this short video, and hopefully it will have helped you with this area of Contract Controller. If you need more assistance with using Contract Controller or would like more information, please do get in touch.